Hi, this is James from Hook and Forward. Today we're going to be looking at three of our Priorat wines. They're all red wines coming from northeast Spain in the Priorat region, not far from Barcelona. We'll start off with Terrasses, which is from Alvaro Palacios, and that's around £30. Then we've got the Nit de Nin, which is a notch-up. It's made by Esther Nin and Familia Nin Ortiz, and that's around £50, just under I think. Then we'll move on to the last one. That's a 2005 vintage Maston-Gil Clos Fonta, which is an absolutely fantastic wine which is aging really well, and that's around £75 a bottle. So Priorat's a region that produces mainly red wine. I think it's around 90 to 95% red wine, and generally from two different grape varieties. That's Grenache or Garnacha, and from Carignan or Carignana or Samso, depending on which language you're talking. Priorat is a very hot, rocky, stony, hilly region of Spain. If you see the pictures, I mean, it looks incredibly unforgiving. A difficult place to work. So the wines tend to not be cheap for a start. I mean, we've got Alvaro Palacios entry-level wine, I guess, here for £30, but this isn't a baby wine. It's a wine made from old vines, so we're talking average age of 60 years here. And actually it didn't used to be old vines that he used. He changed in around 10 years ago. He cut the production by a third and started using only the old vines, and the quality levels came up, as you might expect. As the age of the vines go up, we tend to get a more concentrated flavour, more complexity, and it generally just produces a more interesting wine. So let's start off with that one. So let's have a look at it. It's a beautiful pink ruby colour. It's not too deep. It doesn't look over extracted. On the nose we've got that really distinct Priorat sort of aroma, and for me that's a mix of red berries, maybe slightly cooked red berries, but there's always a mineral, stony, flinty sort of dustiness on the nose, and this is certainly showing in this one. It's relatively primary. It's a lot of fruit, deep red. You can smell real wild strawberries, raspberries, and obviously red cherry as well. So let's give it a taste. It really coats the mouth. It's come out of the cellar, which was at around 12 degrees, and it's been out for around 20 minutes now, but it's warmed up. And the first thing I would say is that delicious, luscious texture and perfume that you would get probably more from the Carignan than the Grenache. But it doesn't feel very warm in the throat, even though it's 14.5%. And you can certainly feel that it's a big wine. There's a lot of complexity here. The finish is still going 30 seconds later. Let's give it another go. Absolutely stunning wine. I can imagine it going really well with any sort of lamb, maybe a lamb stew, something with rosemary, thyme that's going to cut across the richness of the wine. Or to be honest, just drink it by itself. It really is that good, and it's so young, it will last at least 5 to 10 more years. So we come on now to the second wine, the Nit de Nin. We do also sell the second wine at Nit de Nin, which is called Planetes de Nin, but today we're going to show you this one. There's something a bit different about this wine, whereas the other was Grenache and Carignan, and this is also Grenache and Carignan. It uses a slightly different variety of Grenache called Hairy Grenache, which gives it more spice, maybe slightly darker fruit. So let's take a look at it. It's pretty dark in colour actually. I can't see through the bottom of the glass, so it's definitely deep. Let's give it a sniff. You really do get that incense sort of spice, maybe a mix of clove and pepper, a little bit of cinnamon. and then followed by the red fruit, which you expect, but this time they're more cooked, they're slightly riper. Right, let's give it a taste. Again, it coats your mouth. It's not instantly as primary and sweet fruited and red fruited as the first wine. There's a lot more spice, as we said. There's more mineral notes. It's pretty high in acid. The acid in this wine is actually going to help. It's going to clear the palate for such a rich and deep wine, but there's a lot of complexity here. I'm still tasting it. It's going through different levels of spice as if you were having a good curry. This wine is just completely something else. It's biodynamic. It's a labour of love. It's just a very small parcel of land between a couple working really hard on it. They have other jobs. Esther Nin is actually a winemaker for Clos Erasmus, who produce really expensive £300 bottles of wine. But you can tell that there's that expertise to produce something completely different here, but incredible. I would serve the Nitdanin again with lamb, most likely. So now we'll move on to the vintage wine for today. That's the Masdongil Clos Fonta 2005. I've been really excited about tasting this one today actually. It's not one I've tasted before. That often happens with vintage wines, which I pick up in small parcels from various sources, but so I'm really looking forward to it. I know of this estate. It's old, 150, 160 years old, 3 different families over 3 different generations have been farming here. It's got lots of different wines that they produce, but this is actually one of their top ones. And they suggest a yield of 10 hectolitres per hectare, which Chateau Yquem has 9 hectolitres per hectare, so I'm wondering whether they've got their numbers quite right. But Priorat does have those low yields, mainly because they're such difficult conditions to grow grapes in, and vines will struggle to produce many bunches, and so perhaps they're right. But I do know that it spends at least 3 years in bottle at the estate before it's released. And that means they obviously don't want people to drink this wine when it's too young, when perhaps it's not integrated fully between the alcohol and the tannins. But let's give it a go. It's really very deep. I can't see my fingers through the bottom of the glass at all. Straight away, it smells like vintage port to me. It's powerful, but it's more than just powerful. It's not smacking me in the face. It's giving me a lot of different things. There's no primary fruit left. There is a lot of cooked fruit. There's a hint of sort of Christmas cake and gentle sweet spices. I think the overriding smells are of leather, meat, a little bit of smokiness, prunes and figs. It's very dry fruit and ripe and just smells absolutely delicious. Let's give it a taste. Yeah, I wasn't going to spit that one. I won't spit wine like this. It's been waiting too long for someone to open it up. It's a truly delicious, stunning wine. Actually, for that price point, £75, you're going to get a lot for your money here. It's really rich and intense. Everything that I described on the nose is there in the palate, but with more. And the flavours are still coating my mouth. The tannins are so ripe, and they've gone to a very sort of smooth level now. There's nothing sticking out. There's no excess alcohol. The acid is there, but it's not sort of gripping at my teeth. Really, truly delicious. A sort of wine perhaps I'd bring out when my parents came round, or more importantly when my wife's parents came round. It's something to have with a celebration meal. So enjoy.